Hi everyone, it's Tracey here from Art Fiber Stitch. I'm looking at Inktense Dye Blocks or Sticks. I find it's a great way to colour all kinds of things, but I'm colouring today laces and meshes and fabrics that are gauzy or lacy. I've got a collection here now. Can you see this one? It's just a very polyester kind of gauze. It wouldn't dye nicely. But it may take the Inktense, and we're going to experiment. I'm also going to, in a later episode, have a go at these. These are samples of curtaining. You quite often get them in an op shop or thrown out. But any fabric with a print on would do. So what do I need? Well, I've got an Inktense blocks here, a set of. You can get all different size sets. I really think it's worth it because I really love the colour. I need water. What else do I need? A paintbrush maybe? A sprayer or atomizer if you want to use it that way. Something to put underneath to stop it staining my white work surface. So that's about it, I think. We're ready to start. Let's start with this one. I think this is a kind of mesh fabric. It's a bit of a silk linen blend with a bit of synthetic, so it's all kinds. It doesn't really matter because the Inktense, it tends to dye most things quite well. It's always worth an experiment. So I'm wetting my fabric in that water I brought, or at least the bottom half of it. The whole idea is that you can use your stick, and then once it's wet, it makes it so that it's washable. It'll stay that colour. So I'm just using the side of these sticks like a pastel, and I am using this side like a brass rubbing or something. You know, I'm just doing little dashes and stripes and shapes just to try and build up some different colour. So I'll use a brown and a purpley dark brown kind of colour and maybe some clay kind of colours. Just keep trying to add things because the colour that I have, that mesh is very, very, what's the word, beige, okay, or fawn. Not a lot of colour in it at all. So I decide it kind of reminds me of bricks. I reckon it could be like bricks or something. I'm just going to do some black on here and do a vague sort of bricky kind of outline. We'll see. We'll see what I end up doing, but I will use it. It's nice to have these little bits and pieces and to experiment with them and just see what it suggests to you and what it can be. So although I did wet that, I'm just making absolutely sure that the bits at the top are also wet, although I'm sure the water would travel through that little scrap. But when we do add water, you can see that the color really intensifies, but it will get as it gets dry, it will get much lighter. So you could have it either way. You can use these for bright things or lovely pastel things. Now, something I'm doing is after I've finished anything, I'm going to use a piece of linen here as a rag. And I'm just going to see what bits and pieces it picks up. Not much from that one, but early days yet. Now you can put this colour on. You could put more on now if you wanted. You could wait till it dries and put more on then. It's really up to you what you think. I'm trying to intensify the colour a little bit more by putting in another colour here. But really, I think it's better to wait and see what it looks like once it's dry. I'm just using my hands now, and I'm going to pat the moisture through the fabric just to make sure it all gets a bit of water on it. That's my rag again. So let's take it away, dry it overnight, and see what it happens. Here it is. It's got some lovely colours in, but you don't really notice it when it is against that white. You see a lot of white coming through. That's because there's loads of gaps in that fabric. So, but you can see some things. You can see that dark that I put in. I'm just thinking it would be better to try it with the fabric underneath. It certainly shows up those colours better, and those brick-like kind of suggestions I made. I could try it like that. It's something where, you know, you can try different colours underneath, different sections of it, and you'll come up with different ideas. Let's just try another one. If I add this orange underneath, it really would change it. So that's good. I think this is a useful addition to my fabric scraps, and I will definitely find a use for it. Yeah, I'm thinking already. All right, that's one. Now the next one I wanted to try, and there's me using the rag again, is this doily. Once again, it's not pure cotton or anything, so we don't know how it would dye. But these sticks are going to give me the greatest chance, I think. What I'm going to do on this one is I'm not going to wet it first. See how I've just used the side of the pastel there, and then if I wet it straight away, you can see that colour intensifying as it gets wet. And as I said, it will get lighter again as it dries. So in that way, more water, less pastel, less dye, but more water would make a more pastel colour. And then richer colours are done with very little water. And you can really make your own way to do this. I have started here doing it on dry, with the dry pastel. And see how I'm using the water to sort of push that blue into the yellow, and see if I get a greeny colour there. So you can blend colours as well. I'm just speeding up a bit here because this could take too long. But you can see I'm actually going for a rainbow affair here, something with orange, purple, pinky colours, maybe a purple or blue to finish. But I'll just do half of it. Probably some of it will spread out into the other side, but we'll see. I think it'll be nice. But I would like a little bit more blue, I think, and a bit more purple. Something a little bit more dark. Let's make that center nice and dark. So we'll find that different parts of it have taken the colour better than others. And it's all just a huge experiment, and we'll see tomorrow. Never be afraid to experiment. Here I am adding some more colour. I'm really wanting it intense there, aren't I? So we're going to put that overnight, I think, seeing though it's a grim looking day. Normally it would dry in the sun very quickly here in Australia, but I think this will take overnight because it is raining outside. So that's it. Drying time. I'll lay them all out on plastic so that they won't stain anything else. And I'll show you each one as we finish so that you, whilst it's fresh in your mind, you can see. Now, can you see how pastel that looks? I thought, oh, all the colours come out, but you know, it's very pretty. And then I looked at the other side and I thought, oh, okay, I get it. One side was more pastel, and one side, the colour, I put the colour on the side I put the colour on was Intense. And look at that when you put a colour underneath that to make it show up. Isn't it gorgeous? Or it can be like this, which is delicate and beautiful. So plenty to try in that. You could do that with lace or doilies or all sorts. But now we're going to try this. This is a fabric with a chain stitch sort of embossing on it. And this fabric is very loose weave. It's a polyester. It's not going to be something that would dye nicely, but it's you never know. It might pick up more colour or less colour. What do you think on those embroidered bits? Well, we're going to see, and we're just going to like wet it, and then, like I say, use the side of this dye stick or dye block and just let that develop. And all I'm trying to do is get different patches of colour blending into each other. So I'll put colours together that, you know, like each other, like green there and aqua like each other. And yellow will certainly hit the right spot. It'll turn into greeny areas where the two blend. I'm going into oranges, and I'll end up with a few different colours on this so that we can pick and choose which bits we might like to use. So that's adding that, and I am using my paintbrush to spread that paint around, or my fingers even. But then I sort of think, well, look at that colour come now. Lovely. But I do think there are other ways. Like, for example, one is, I've seen it before where people sprinkle, you know, the dust from the pastel or from the dye stick onto the wet fabric, and it does interesting things. I've tried where you can load your brush with the watery dye and flick it onto the fabric. And the way I do that is, see, here's a stick here. I'm adding some water, and just like watercolor blocks, see, we can make paint, and we could draw something more specific, lines, or, you know, something more delicate. So you can paint it on like that as well. You're already adding the water, so you don't need to do more. And there I am having a little bit of a splash. So plenty of different things to try. But once again, we'll speed this up a bit. I can see that colour definitely developing. I'm going to be really excited to see this one and see what it does. But remember, I didn't put anything at the top. I'm going to let that colour seep through. More water at the top will help it be more pastel coloured. So I'm just using the sticks like as if I was colouring in. You can do like watercolour paintings, backgrounds for things, but I really like that once it's wet, it's washable. So that's a great invention, I think. So you can use the green bits, you could use, that's what I was looking at there, separating it out. Would I want some blue on there? I think I would. I think it's time nearly to put it away overnight and see what we've got. But it is so hard not to fiddle. This reminds me of a tie-dyed kind of t-shirt now, that burst of colour. But here it is, and I'm going to pick it up, there we go, and take it away. And now, let's see what we got. Look at those colours. I just love it. But this is what it looks like. You can't see that colour now, can you? Because you're looking through that lacy, gauzy fabric. Oh, I want to show you this first. When I did leave it out, I left it folded over so that some of the colour, just a tiny bit, went onto the top half. Because I thought maybe I can use you. Right, so we've got our fabric. Once again, I'm just going to look at it and see what it looks like with something underneath. There's the orange. I really think that does a lot to it. And you can use oodles of different colours or types of things under there just to really show that off. I think you can see that vibrancy pumping through there. But I think we should have a look at some other pictures. See there, the lacy fabric is still white. Here it's really intense. And up there, a totally different look. The flowers are not dyed at all. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to play with it. I'm going to see. And I like to look at the two of them together, you know, the lace on top of some of that fabric that we've dyed. I think this is going to be a great thing to play with, and I have loads of ideas of how I want to use it. So I just think that this is a really easy way to get colour on your fabric. You don't have to have, I remember years ago using fabric paint and watering it down to try and get it on there, but you know, you could draw pictures, you can just use it as a dye stick to colour things in, just to apply colour. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we'll have a go at some of the other fabrics next. I just want to show you and see if you like it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can even leave a donation if you want to. But I think that, you know, this is the start of something beautiful. I really like that one too. Okay, that's it for now. Bye.